Drunk Karen accuses my front waiter and I of theft, ends up embarrassing herself, posted by Gold and Silver 61. Back in 2014, I was a back waiter on a cruise ship in Hawaii. The ship was in port on the northern island of Kauai, and my front waiter, who we will call Phil, not his real name, and I were working the dinner shift in the main dining hall. It was a typical steady evening until two ladies were seated in our section. One of the ladies, the Karen of this story, obviously had a little too much to drink. Red in the face, drunk and giggling, you get the idea. During the dinner, the two ladies were having a great time, smiling, laughing, and enjoying themselves. They were actually quite pleasant to wait on. The two ladies finished their dinner and left without an incident happening. Phil and I continued working, but about 20 to 30 minutes later, the drunk Karen returns. She walks right up to me and says, "My purse is missing." I replied, "Well, no one has sat at the table that you and your friend were at since you left, so let's go over there and see if you left your purse behind." I started looking around the table, and the drunk Karen shouts, "Don't look for my purse there." This startled me. After a moment of being a deer caught in headlights, I asked her, "Ma'am, this is where you and your friend ate your dinner, right? If you don't want me to look for your purse here, where should I be looking?" She says, "You and your other waiter took it, and I want it back right now." "Ma'am, we didn't take your purse. Is it possible you might have left it in your cabin?" This ticked the drunk Karen off, and she snapped back, "How dare you ask me such a stupid question? I would know if I left my purse in my cabin. I know you two took it, and I want it back right now." With her screaming, anyone and everyone who could hear her were now looking at us. Phil rushes over to try and calm her down while I went to find the restaurant manager. I filled him in on what was going on, and while walking back towards Phil and the drunk Karen, I warned him, "Hey, whatever you do not ask her if she left her purse in her cabin. I did, and it only made her mad." The manager thanked me for the warning, but told me that he had to ask her that as part of the line of questioning that he had to do in this situation. Sure enough, the drunk Karen got even more ticked off when he asked her that question. So now we have a full-scale investigation on our hands. Our section had to be closed down. The passengers dining in our area were inconveniently moved to other sections of the restaurant, and the security team had to come in and question all of us. Drunk Karen got even more ticked off when the security team asked her if she left her purse in the cabin. After the questioning, the security team split up. Some went to go look for the drunk Karen's friend for additional questioning, while the rest went to look over the security footage. They told us this will take some time, as there are multiple cameras that overlapped our section, and they had to review not only the dinner, but the 20 to 30 minutes after the dinner when drunk Karen and her friend left the restaurant to when she returned to see if we stole the purse. But they assured her that if we did steal it, they will see it in the footage. So now it's just the restaurant manager, one security guard, drunk Karen, Phil, and myself, waiting around in our empty section for the security team to finish their investigation. The manager and security officer did a good job keeping drunk Karen calm for a while, but she eventually lost her patience and screamed, "Why is this taking so long? I know those two stole my purse, and I want it back right now. If you delay any longer, I will call the cops, have them come on board to arrest those two, and I will sue this cruise line." Upon hearing this, Phil had enough, and he started yelling back at drunk Karen. I pulled him off to the side to try and calm him down, but he gets upset at me and says, "How can you be so calm? That lady is threatening to call the cops and have us arrested. Aren't you the least bit worried that we could be going to jail?" "Why should we be worried?" I replied. "We didn't steal her purse. The security team will verify this when they finish looking over the security footage. The purse will be found somewhere and everything will be fine, so we have nothing to worry about." This did little to no good calming Phil down, so I decided to change my tactics and said in jest, "Think of it this way. We're both still on the clock. We're getting paid right now to stand around and do nothing while we wait for the security team to finish their investigation. Think of it like we're getting an extra paid break during what would otherwise be a standard busy dinner shift." Phil did not find this amusing, and he yelled back, "Why aren't you taking this seriously? We could be going to jail and you're making jokes. Don't you have any pride? Where's your integrity?" So Phil's yelling at me, Drunk Karen is yelling at us, and Phil is yelling back at the Drunk Karen. Things were getting out of hand. Fortunately, a short while later, Drunk Karen's friend walks back into the restaurant with the missing purse. When asked where she found the purse, you've probably guessed it by now. It was in Drunk Karen's cabin the whole time. I didn't think Drunk Karen's face could get any more red from the booze she drank and from how angry she was, but she turned 3 shades of red darker from sheer embarrassment. She snatched the purse from her friend's hands and ran out of the restaurant. The friend tried to apologize on Drunk Karen's behalf, but Phil rejected it and he yelled out, "That lady came in here, accused us of stealing her purse, threatened to call the cops and have us arrested. Yet when the purse was found, she runs out of here without apologizing to us first. What a bee!" The restaurant manager knew that emotionally, Phil was in no condition to keep working, so he told him to clock off for the rest of the night to calm down and that he can clock back in the next day once he's done so. The manager apologizes to me and asked if I could do the close down procedure for our section on my own. I had no problem with this, since when I was done, I would still be clocking off for about an hour earlier than usual. As I was finishing up, the manager calls me into his office and says, "Hey, I want to thank you for how you handled the situation earlier tonight. You were calm and collected while Phil lost his cool. Please don't think I was rewarding Phil by letting him off early for his bad behavior. You acted like the experienced front waiter while he acted like the immature back waiter. He wasn't in the right mindset to continue working tonight, and I promise, in the next week or 2, I will find a night to give you off as a reward for how you responded to the situation." Drunk Karen never returned to the main dining hall to apologize in person, but she did write an apology letter which she had her friend deliver on her behalf. Phil was still ticked and wanted to tear up the letter in a horrible rage. This time I managed to calm him down and convinced him to be the bigger man and just accept the letter. It may not be the apology that he wanted, but we are all still receiving an apology in the end. Upper class Karen disrespected my family and then tried to attack me when I retaliated, posted by No State Greenery. So yesterday, my family and I went out for a nice dinner and a trip to the movies. This is something we rarely do, since we live moderately far apart and we all work our own jobs. Our party included my dad, my mom, my sister, and me. Everything was pretty chill, and we were enjoying ourselves. The food was nice, and the movie was kind of funny. Nobody was expecting what had awaited us just moments later. When the movie ended, we started walking out of our row towards the exit. This cinema is rather small, so there was only one door. When I looked back up to see where the rest of my family was, I saw that my mother was arguing with a couple. The man was a balding middle-aged snob with thick glasses and an oily face. The woman was dressed in a black dress, golden necklace, and had a fake blonde Karen haircut. Both had this unbearable upper-classy, I'm better than you feel oozing out of them. It was pretty clear that they didn't want to get up to let my mother pass through. Now, you see, my mother has a medical problem with her knee. She wanted to pass the row in this specific direction so that she doesn't have to huddle through the whole length of the row to get out. She tried to explain this to the woman, Karen, but Karen just made fun of her, taunting her with, "Oh, just climb over me then," and "No, I can't let you pass, I want to see the credits." I saw how, after a while of arguing, Karen put her feet demonstratively on top of the seat in front of her to block my mother's way. My mom was all worked up, crying, and passed me by the exit, taking the long way. I don't take disrespect lightly, and I knew that if I didn't act, this scene would follow me for some weeks. I remembered that I have my water bottle with me, filled to the brim. So I took it out, walked back to where the couple was still sitting, and gave Karen and her boyfriend a refreshing shower directly onto their bellies and laps. They clearly saw me coming and looked at me, all smug and victorious, until the water hit them. Karen and her boyfriend looked shocked and had this "how could you" face on. Her boyfriend, who also yelled at my mom previously, confronted me with a quiet and shaky, "Why would you do that? You can't do that." Because apparently, Karen and her boyfriend never learned that their actions have consequences. As I turned to leave, I saw Karen going full rage mode. She was climbing over her boyfriend in the seats to get to me. Her partner yelled something like, "Karen, please leave it as it is, don't do it." Just as I went through the exit, I realized that she made her way right behind me. I turned and she was standing there with raised fist, like 2 steps apart from me. I looked at her and asked, "Oh, so you want to fight?" And Karen, glaring with the rage of 1,000 sexually frustrated middle-aged women, sputtered, "Yeah, let's fight." I'm a 23-year-old guy, fairly muscular and big into fighting sports. I've been training both Wing Chun and Muay Thai for quite a while now, since it's fun and it adds to my overall fitness. Don't worry, I didn't obliterate Karen. I also didn't really attack her. I just assumed my fighting stance, took a step forward, and asked her again if she really wants to fight. Karen was still there in all her freshly soaked glory, seething with rage. Now, at this point, I kinda wish she would try to hit me so I could bring her down in an elegant self-defense kind of way. But she just stared at me, so I threw a halfway warning shot, kinda center kick in her direction. Not hitting her, but to establish distance. Next thing I know is that Karen ran back into the cinema and my sister and mother were getting in my way to end the situation. Karen was hiding behind some people in the cinema, and I shouted something like, "Where are you going, Karen? I thought you wanted to fight." Her balding middle-aged boyfriend walked to the exit, saw me, and went wide-eyed again, completely overwhelmed with this situation. We then turned and left. A very kind woman reassured us that Karen acted weird and uncontrolled. She speculated that Karen was on drugs or something. Well, after all, we got a good story out of our family night, and all Karen and her seemingly enslaved boyfriend got was wet clothes and dirty looks. A fair deal. Update. To all that commented that I escalated the situation, you're absolutely right. This story is about how I reacted right in this moment. You can form your opinion of me based on this story, and that is completely valid. I never was in a situation like this, and I wanted to share my experience. My goal is not to get you to praise me. Based on the comments, there is a large array of different ways on how to act in such occasions. Entitled Karen at a Packed Restaurant, posted by General Snivy. For a bit of background information, before I share this short story, my mother and I went to Pennsylvania to visit my sister for about a week, as we haven't seen each other in person for over 4 years. During one of the last couple of days of our visit, my mother, my sister, one of her friends who she's living with, and I went to a local restaurant that she looked up via Google Maps, as we were looking to try eating at someplace new. Now, I don't remember the exact name of the restaurant, but I do know that it's on the riverside and it has tequila in its name. Now, onto the story. We arrived at the restaurant and parked in a parking lot across the street from the establishment, and we head inside. As we were heading in, we noticed that the restaurant is packed with lots of customers, and the place looks to be understaffed. There didn't seem to be that many waiters and waitresses on duty, but all 4 of us can tell that they are giving it their all to serve these people, despite the circumstances. One thing I was surprised about was that we were able to be seated so quickly, even if the place looks packed to the brim. So we sat down, ordered an appetizer, and waited patiently for it to arrive. During this time, we chatted about some personal things that aren't worth sharing, and when our appetizer arrived, the waitress forgot to give us the cheese sauce that would normally come with our fries. I politely pointed this out to her after she dropped off our food. She apologized, and she went back to the kitchen to get our cheese sauce. No big deal as far as from what I can tell, our waitress is serving around 7 tables total, including ours. Eventually, we got our cheese sauce for our appetizer and then ordered our main meals. My mom got a baked potato with pork and barbecue sauce inside the potato that was the size of my head. My sister got a sandwich, I can't remember for sure, and some fries. My sister's friend got something else that I can't recall, and I got myself a pepperoni calzone. Our food arrived and everyone's food was correct, except mine. My calzone had ham or salami in it, which is something I don't like. So I politely informed our waitress that my order was wrong and told her what was wrong with it. She apologized and I told her that it wasn't a big deal. She offered to take the calzone back and have the cooks remake it, which I had her do. All seemed good despite the mistakes that were made so far. Considering everything that was going on, dealing with a restaurant that was packed with hungry people and being short-handed, our waitress was handling things like a champ until my mom and sister overheard an entitled Karen over at a table next to us. I didn't hear the conversation myself as I was staring off into space waiting for my food to be remade, which, by the time it was remade, it was done properly, which was nice. From what I heard my mom and sister mention as they were talking to each other, this Karen was complaining about how the food was terrible, the service was sloppy, and how they were going to complain to our waitress's manager about their slow, crappy, poor service. As Mom and my sister were conversing, my sister's friend joined in the conversation as well to offer her own input, and as they were talking and taking all this information in, I agreed with everyone in my party that this Karen is just being entitled, and we were practically singing our waitress's praises as she worked her butt off, serving our table, plus several others at the same time. In the end, when we were ready to receive our check and leave, we told our waitress that she did an excellent job that evening. We thanked her for all of her hard work, and we gave her a very generous tip. I think we ended up tipping her $50 that evening, but I could be wrong about that amount. Regardless, we gave her a really good tip, and I strongly believe that we raised her spirits at least a little bit, which felt really good. My sister also offered to stand up for this waitress if she were to receive a complaint from her manager, shift leader, or whoever her boss is, thanks to this entitled Karen. Overall, the food was delicious and the service was top-notch. If Mom and I were to go back to PA again, we'll definitely revisit this restaurant and hopefully not encounter any more Karens who can't appreciate good customer service, even if it's being served right in front of their face. HOA Karen lies. She finds everyone and blames the cops. You gotta see what happens next in this crazy story. Click the video on your screen and I'll see you there.